Welcome to my little victory garden where I'm trying to grow food for my family in North Texas, Zone 8B. So today is gumbo day, which means I need potatoes for my mother-in-law to make a potato salad. I'm going to try to make sure I get the Norland red ones only. We'll see how many we get. I'm looking about 2 to 3 plants worth. So that's about 3 plants worth of new potatoes. Keep in mind, these are not like fully, I'm harvesting these as new potatoes. Let's get these cleaned up and find out how much they weigh. So 24.3 ounces, that's not too bad. I am going to say, got an ant problem. They're really liking that potato bed, and they started in. It seems to be the only one that was chewed up, though. I'm going to just cut that off and continue using it. So the other thing I want to point out is those onions that I'm harvesting early. I'm drying the leaves. I already have like 2 or 3 quarts worth of these. At this point, I think I'm getting a quart of these per onion. I harvested one for gumbo today, but I'm going to dry these and make them into an onion powder. They smell so good when they're dried too. Much more intense scent than the store-bought onion powder. So this is the fig tree in the front yard that I've had for close to 12 years. I cut 4 feet off the top of it because it was getting to where I couldn't harvest them, and I didn't want to attract birds by leaving fruit on the tree. As it is, I'm harvesting when it comes time 3 times a day to get them before the birds. Thank goodness I have a job that I work from home so that I can harvest before work, during my lunch break, and then immediately after work. But I swear this thing is fuller than it has ever been after I cut a whole bunch off of it. And this little stick here, this is my LSU fig. I need to take the label off of it and those little things that they have to attach them to the stick. The bricks are temporary, just to make sure no one tried to mow over my poor fig. And yesterday I went to Costco, and they had these false banana trees. It's while the fruit isn't really edible, my understanding is in Nigeria they would use it, the stems and roots. I'm probably not going to do that, but I think it's pretty, and it's going to go in front of this window to give it some shade. And then finally, my other impulse buy was this Southern Sweet Cherry. It wasn't until I got it home that I realized I'm going to have to keep it in a pot. The label says it can stay in this pot for 2 years, and then I need to pot it up to a 10-gallon and then later a 25-gallon. So probably next year I'll go ahead and put it in one of my 25-gallon grow bags. And maybe I'll make my daughter live with this along with my plumeria over the winter, since she's got a beautiful fridge doors opening up onto the backyard. But it got a little beat up. I'm hoping I'm going to move this out to where it's going to get a little more sun, and then, like I said, next year I'll pot it up into a bigger pot. It should be a pretty prolific cherry tree from what I'm reading, and maybe next year or the year after I'll get one that I can actually put in the ground. I'm looking forward to seeing all the flowers off this. So it's May the 3rd, and I'm looking at my garden, and I just don't see that there's a lot to do. I could weed, which I will do, but that's not real exciting, just pulling up all the grass that is insistent on growing in my garden beds. I swear I put down either landscape fabric or several layers of cardboard before I built these beds, and grass is still coming through. I hate this stuff. I'll be happy on the day that I can just completely get rid of all of it. But I've already harvested an onion for the gumbo. I pulled up 3 plants for potatoes. So I'll have to put up about 2 more potato plants before I can put in some more corn. It's just kind of weird not having a lot to do. I mean, I've got some plants to put in the ground, but it's sweet potatoes and some lavender. I haven't figured out where I'm going to put the lavender yet, and I'm going to plant the sweet potatoes when I do the corn, so I have to wait for the regular potatoes to come out. But yeah, I've been working so hard all the time to get this thing planted, and now it's just general maintenance. Let's see, I probably can pull off some suckers off the tomatoes, like this one, and pull up grass. Let me show you how things are doing. I'm finally getting some flowers on my tomatoes. Looking back at some of my Facebook posts, I already had actual tomatoes on the plants by this point, but you know, my peas were done, and my peas are still flourishing. I have found lots of ladybugs on them, which is nice because I have found some aphids. I really thought, well, they'd be done by this weekend, but nope. The ladybugs came in and took care of it. Probably should harvest some more of these little wonder peas. And my nasturtiums come in. Only one of my squash plants. Oh wait, nope. I'm seeing some signs of the zucchini over there. You see that? Yeah. Yay! So I have the white scallop squash here, the zucchini over there, and this is supposed to be a yellow crookneck. I have reseeded this 3 times. It might be my seeds are just old. I'll give it one more chance, and if not, I'll put another probably white scallop squash in there, which is they're also called like patty pan squash. I really like those. But a couple of the potatoes along here kind of stunted. One of the ones I'd pulled up earlier was one of the stunted ones. It's all along this row. The first few were really nice, but yeah, I'm not sure what's causing it. But I still got a few good potatoes off that one. My beans and corn are starting to come in. I don't think any of these are those butterfly peas, so I'm just going to pretty much call that seed packet a bust. This was like the 2nd year I'd had them. They didn't do anything last year. They haven't done anything this year. And I've tried 2 different plantings. But I'm going to put some more corn. Let's see my sweet potatoes there. More corn, beans, and sweet potatoes here as I start pulling up potatoes. This is the oregano I planted last year, Greek oregano, I believe. And it has just been so very happy. I'm going to have to harvest some of that and dry it. In the past, I'd had another herb bed closer to the patio, and I had put in some oregano that I had gotten from a food co-op. I had, it was actual just herbs, and I'd stuck them in the fridge in some water, and they put on roots. So I just stuck them out in the ground, and it flourished so much that I was harvesting handfuls of it every week, if not a couple of times a week, and rubber banding them and taking them to the food bank. I'm kind of hoping that I can get this one flourishing like that. And that entire herb bed got taken over by grass, and it choked everything out, which is why I completely redid it was a motivating factor for redoing everything. That huge sage that I had was actually from that bed that I just dug up and moved. There had been 2. I gifted the other to somebody. I'll show you that in a little while. because it has done really well. I think that might be a Cosmos. I had a day where just chaos took over and I just kind of threw seeds out, but I think that might be a Cosmos. We'll see. And then that's one of the artichokes. The other one on the other side is doing just as well. This one gets afternoon sun, and the other one gets morning sun. And my newly planted blackberries seem to be very happy in their location. And this is the one I planted last year. Look at that thing. This new cane is just huge already. And that's last year's cane. I believe this is an Arapaho. I know this one next to it is. But look how big those leaves are. I don't think I've ever had blackberry leaves that big. Let's see if I can zoom out enough that you can see. It is almost as big as my hand. I'm hoping that means next year it's going to produce really well. And I wish I could remember what variety of raspberry this is. But it seems to be happy, even though last year's cane is dead. And then this is the Suffolk, which turns out is a primocane. So it's trying to put on 3 little raspberries. I'm kind of hoping I get my 3 little raspberries. I'm looking forward to seeing my dahlia bloom. I don't think it did last year. And that's my Texas tarragon. I was really surprised it came back, although my sweet marjoram didn't. I think I might start some later. I'll need to get seeds. And I think this is my bells of Ireland. They were older seeds. I'd bought them, I think, during the pandemic, and then I just never got them planted. So I threw them all out and one bloomed. So that's pretty exciting. And this is all those zinnias I saved from last year. None of the ones that I gotten this year bloomed. I was gifted some white polar bear and some pink ones, but I had pink and red from last year. And I think all those sunflowers I put out are finally starting to come up. I think that's what those are. We'll find out. But here's all my beans. I'm just so excited about how happy they're looking. So this is they're just little red beans I got in a bag of beans at Costco. Not seed, just they were sold as beans to eat. And they popped up happily. So I've put some more in here. They should show up soon. And this was the Blue Lake beans that did not, they were older seeds. Nothing came of them. I replanted and nothing came of them again as of yet. I also put some borage here that I'm not seeing. I might try replanting the borage this weekend. Just give me something to do to putter in the garden. This is where the tricolored green beans were. A handful came up. I think these are the red ones. I don't know what the others are, but I'd done them. I tried to separate them out, so I did like a block of red, a block of white, and a block of the brown ones. And I got a few of these. I just can't remember if it's the white or the brown. I'm pretty sure those red stemmed ones are the red ones. And then nothing. These are pinto beans. I'd actually bought seed for pinto beans. I think I mentioned in the past what my grandfather would do is just go buy a bag of beans at the local grocery store and plant them. And he planted a lot of beans. He had a garden space 2 or 3 times the size of my backyard, and he would do 4 rows of pinto beans. Oh, so many pinto beans. And then over here are some light red kidney beans I bought seed for as well. Kind of looking forward to having these pinto beans. Is there something I grew up on as a green bean? Like I said, the ones I'd been doing from the grocery store bags had not been doing well at all. And oh my gosh, See if I can get it in the screen. Where is he? There he is. Look. I think I've got a ladybug. You see my ladybug? I'm so excited. They make me so happy. I hope they do really well and are very prolific so that I can keep the aphids at bay. I have so many ants in this garden bed. I have so many ants in this entire yard. I think the whole neighborhood is overtaken with them. And I don't want to use any horrible chemicals, but I can't seem to get rid of them. I've tried just this week diatomaceous earth and cinnamon, and my wife took and went around the edges of the garden beds with the garden vinegar. It's 30% vinegar. She did it to kill weeds, but it's also supposed to help get rid of the ants, and I'm not seeing any signs that they are reducing. Let's see. And here are my peanuts. I've never grown peanuts before, but I understand my great-grandparents were peanut farmers, so it amused me to try to grow peanuts. I forget what variety these are. I've got them written down in the house. I'll try to put that on the post, but I've got 2 grow bags full, and what they're supposed to do is put on a flower, and then those flowers kind of drop into the ground and grow the peanuts underground, and then you can add more dirt. Once that first layer had bloomed and touched the dirt, you add more dirt, and then they'll grow up and put it even more. I think if I'd realized that when I put the seeds in, I might have put a little bit less dirt in there, but I still have room, as you see, to add dirt to it. So this is that sage that was in my original herb bed over by the patio. It was half this size in that bed, and as it was trying to share space with another one, and I did not realize they got this big. So I dug it up, I cut it back dramatically a couple years ago, and I stuck it in the ground. And it seemed to be doing okay. I mean, it wasn't flourishing, but it seemed content. And even as of February, it was kind of still looking a little spindly, and then boom, all these flowers came up. It just filled in beautifully. I probably should have harvested the flowers. They were beautiful. Maybe next year I need to cut all the dead heads off, but I'm kind of letting it go to seed. We'll see how that works. But this eventually will be turned into a perennial herb bed over time. I've got some Swiss chard. They typically have a lifespan of about 18 months. And I don't have any particular plans for anything there. I figure a lot of this will just kind of start to take over. I do have a Tabasco in here because I was looking for places to try to put it, because I'd had that impulse buy of Tabasco peppers when I was getting my Creole tomatoes in Louisiana, and a spicy oregano. I've been wanting some. A friend had some, but we just kept forgetting to take a cutting for me to root, so I just bought it. It was like $2 in Louisiana. Can I say how happy I am of the plant prices in southern Louisiana compared to North Texas? They're like a third to a half the price of what I find in my local stores. This is a rue that my wife picked out. I'm not sure what to do with it, but I understand it is an herb. So there it is. There is some parsley. I'd had those ones I put in the compost pots that all just kind of died, but I'd had this one I'd done in a plastic pot, and I thought about having it growing inside, but after the others just died, it went in the ground. I'm hoping it will flourish and I will have plenty of parsley. There is a tabbouleh salad that I like to make, but instead of bulgur wheat, I'll use couscous, but it makes good use of my mint and lots of parsley. These garlic are ones that I forgot to harvest last year. I will get them harvested this year because they are large enough for me to see them. And that's the French thyme I got in Louisiana. I mean, it is quadrupled in size. It's still small. Can you see it? It's kind of hard to see the, there it is. Screen is a beautiful sunny day as this is. And there's my rosemary I got last year. I used to have 6 rosemary making a hedge in my front yard, but we had that freeze several years ago. And they didn't die off all at once, but they never fully recovered. And they were just slowly dying off, so they got dug up, I think, last year. My wife said they were ugly, so they had to go. They were only 3/4 of the way dead. But I've also expanded my mints. I've got this bed that I really need to tidy. It has gotten so overrun with grass and other weeds. I pulled a ton out earlier this week. It still needs a lot of work, but it's what I had planted in here originally was a mix of sweet mint, spearmint, and chocolate mint, and English mint. I'm not sure what's what at this point. It's been 10 years. I know people say that if you put the mint in the ground, it's going to take over, but my grass seems to be more aggressive than my mint, unfortunately. I don't think I would mind if there was mint in the grass and it smelled pretty every time. Here is a ginger mint that I picked up in southern Louisiana. Once again, it was like $2. I was very happy with it. This is the bonfire peach. I still need to take the label off it. I picked it up at Home Depot, I think, yeah. See, I need to get the label off and those little ties so that it has a bit more of a chance of going somewhere. And this area is kind of, I guess, my wife's fire area. It used to have a fire pit. Now it's got a chimenea. That's what's under the cover because she doesn't want rain getting into it. And we've been having a lot of rain lately. And she's obsessed with Stitch. She's very excited that the live action Stitch is coming out on her birthday. So guess what we're doing to celebrate her birthday? But the Celosia, is that how it's pronounced? She picked both of those out on 2 different trips to Louisiana. Oh wait, no. The red one came from Louisiana. The yellow one came from the local Home Depot. That's my plumeria that we picked up in New Orleans. And I used to have one. I've always wanted one when I realized my name Malia meant plumeria. And I had one for a while, and its first winter I brought it in the house, and we had this half-feral cat who decided that it made an excellent litter box. I'm going to get some stones to cover it, like some river rock or something, before I bring it in the house this coming winter. I've got chives over here. I used to have some mint in one of these long pots, but it really was struggling. So I put it over here in this deeper pot, and it is starting to recover. But you see the tips of some of the leaves. Older leaves were looking kind of crispy. This, my label says I put in English daisies. I don't think that's what it is because the other English daisies are over here behind, and that's a completely different plant. The Shasta daisy hasn't done squat, although I think maybe I've got one coming in way over here. I might reseed that. But I've got some more chives there. I also have, these are onion chives. And so this is my sweet mint. And then over here is spearmint. And garlic chives are right there in the corner next to that beet. And between the beet and the gumbo onions. The beets will have to get harvested soon. And I'll add some more dirt around those garlic chives. But I'm still very amused at my Egyptian walking onions. Instead of putting on little bulblets and falling over, the new onions are just growing on top. I'm guessing because we've had so much rain right now that those onion leaves are just very, very healthy and have no urge to fall over. I'm going to let them stay like that, and hopefully they will fall over and replant and spread. But yeah, and Alphonse, my little zombie flamingo, is still very happily in the garden bed where my wife planted him. I'm wondering if I should bring my zombie cat out here to decorate the garden as well. Although everything else is alive other than Alphonse there. And this is my gumbo simmering. You will note there is no tomatoes in it, as I live with Cajuns, and I think the tomato thing is more of a Creole addition. But I'm going to try to poach eggs in it later today. As is, usually we do boiled eggs in that, because, yeah, Cajuns, along with potato salad and rice. But I've read that poaching is another way of incorporating the eggs into the gumbo, and I'm going to try that. I'll let y'all see how that looks in the end. I have tasted this. It is really good. I'm very proud of myself. Yeah. If y'all are interested in seeing how I make the gumbo, comment, and I'll see about making a video later, if anyone is interested in it. And this is my final bowl of gumbo. You can see the poached egg there on top. I actually think I like the texture of the egg being poached in more than just throwing a boiled egg in. I decided what I wanted to work on in my garden. I have this huge colander that my youngest child's grandfather gifted me, and I'm going to try to remove the rust on this, paint it and so that it doesn't rust anymore, and turn this into a water feature. Yay! So we spent some time scrubbing. At this point, we're tired. Thinking about seeing if we can find some rust or primer stuff that my wife suggested, and see about painting it. This is a lot of work, by the way. I went with this pretty shimmery blue paint for it because it brought me joy. I'm sure this upsets a lot of people that I did this to cast iron, but it's so pretty. And since I need to kind of let this paint cure a bit before I throw some water in, I pulled out one of my mixing bowls to test the little solar water fountain that I had picked up. I got this from Amazon, I think, several weeks back, knowing that I was going to do this project eventually. And of course, Birdie is visiting the garden several times a day. I'm not sure if you can see him sitting there on the wheelbarrow. But thank you for sticking around and watching my gardening video. If you're enjoying these, please like and subscribe, and thank you.